Yeah.
Prabhuji, I want to ask about organ donation.
Okay.
How that thing should be. Means whether we are taking the karma of that other person, or I just want to know about it.
So regarding organ donation, if we donate our organ to someone, are we taking that person's karma? How should we behave in such situations? Actually, this is elaborate subject in which there are multiple factors involved. Every action that we do, we have to recognize that there is always some interaction of karma that happens. And that alone should not be the only factor which determines what we do. Say for example, if we just focus too much on karma, then we may lose awareness of what is our dharma, what is our duty. If a baby is crying and the mother says, oh, the baby is crying because of her past karma, it's ridiculous. The mother has to think, okay, what is my duty in this situation? So, yeah, my baby is crying, I should comfort the baby. If somebody slips and falls, you say, yeah, they slipped and fell because of their karma. We would become very heartless by such an attitude. So that is definitely not desirable. So the principle of karma is not meant to make us heartless. There is a natural human tendency to help others, and that is not meant to be suppressed, that is meant to be channelized. Now the problem comes when this tendency to help others is restricted only to material help, and we don't think of helping people in higher spiritual terms. So for example, Srila Prabhupada would give the example that if a child is lost, if a billionaire's child is lost, and somebody comes and offers, some person comes and offers the child some food, somebody else comes and offers some clothing, somebody comes and offers some medicine, somebody else comes and offers some toys, all this is good. But if somebody comes and takes that billionaire's child back to the father, that is the best service. So the others are also trying to help according to their capacity, but what they are offering is not the best. So like that, when devotees share Krishna Bhakti with others, what they are doing is they are connecting the soul who is the beloved part of Krishna, connecting them back with Krishna. So that is a form of help which is not being offered in today's world by many people. And that's why devotees focus primarily on offering that help. Now while offering help in that way, there are other forms of help which can also be offered. Now, how much one can offer that, how much, that will vary according to time, place, circumstance. So now, suppose we give money to someone. Before I was introduced to Krishna consciousness, I was a part of a social welfare organization, and we used to go to underprivileged areas, and we used to teach various school subjects. I was a part of an organization that was doing that. So one of my friends, I used to go to nearby slums, and one of my friends used to go to nearby village. And then we found that when they went there, they found that the children, they were not educated properly, they were not able to study and understand the subjects. We used to do that. But often the children in their houses, their parents, especially the father, would be alcoholics. And they would just wreak havoc with the finances, and they would sometimes loosen they would be physically abusive. And we realized that actually just offering the children some education, that's only a very small part of the solution for them. So then we also started offering some sort of education for helping these children the parents to get off alcohol, and that helped to some extent. But then the elections came up, and then the local politician, the local political candidate, he came to that village with 4 trucks of alcohol, free for everyone. And not only the parents, but even the children took it. And then it was just, then at that time, and I had my friend, both of us, we started thinking, no, are we really helping people? So then, what we recognized, that was a time when we felt that we need to empower people, not just in terms of providing education or wealth or food or clothing. These are important. But equally, if not more important, is to empower people to change themselves. To empower people to change themselves so that they can break free from undesirable habits. And that is what spirituality offers us. So our primary focus is when we connect with Krishna, we become free from the lower drives that drag us down. And that the more people become freed like that, the more they can contribute constructively to their own future as well as to the future of others. So when there is no understanding of this higher spiritual help, at that time, any form of material help, that seems to be the only way we can help. That seems to be a very laudable way to help. And anybody who says that we should not help materially, that can seem very heartless. So now, as far as helping materially is concerned, now suppose the Bhagavad-gita talks about charity. The Bhagavad-gita talks about charity in 3 modes: in goodness, passion, and ignorance. Normally, we would think of charity as very good. But suppose a person is drunk, and a person comes out of a bar and he sees a beggar, and this person takes out a bottle and gives him, "Tu bhi kya yaad rakhega? Ye le pee le." And now that is charity. But what kind of charity is that? Say that person drinks that alcohol and then goes and abuses the family after that. Oh, that is horror. That is destructive charity. So here is a simple, when we talk about karma, we should not necessarily think in terms of very abstract terms. Sometimes we may give people things with good intentions, but good intentions alone are not always good enough. So we have to also help people to make wiser choices. So charity in the mode of ignorance means people are inclined to act in wrong ways and we help them to act in wrong ways further. So that is undesirable. And that's the spiritual charity where we help people to connect with Krishna and to purify themselves of their lower urges. That is the best. So just as giving alcohol to a person who is likely to be abusive, that can be actually dangerous. So similarly, there is the understanding that if we help people to do certain actions by our charity and those actions are undesirable, then that is bad. So for example, if we help people to if we donate say eyes to people, and then those people abuse their eyes for certain things, then does that give us some karma? Yes, we empower them to do those things. So then we will get some karmic reaction for that. And that's why every charity has to be done thoughtfully. Now this does not mean that we should not give organs. When we give organs to some people, they may abuse them. And that is a factor which needs to be considered. But that is not the only factor that needs to be considered. Yes, people may also use their eyes for good purposes. And if they use it for good purposes, then yes, if as compared to a person who doesn't have eyes, if they have eyes, that's definitely very good. They can do so much more with that particular organ as compared to without that organ. So now, should devotees give charity? Generally speaking, as devotees, the overall mood is we don't interfere inordinately with the process of nature. The processes of nature, we don't interfere inordinately with those processes. Now, what does inordinate interference with processes mean? The process of nature mean? That can vary according to time, place, circumstance. So, for example, say if we are connected with a person who would be benefited by that organ donation, and we know that person, we have a relationship with that person, and that donation is going to help that person not only do things properly in their better in their lives, which they're not able to do because of the lack of organ, and they're also connected with us, and later on by their appreciation for what we have done or what someone connected with us has done, if they become more spiritually, they more favorable towards spirituality, and their chances of coming closer to spiritual truths increases, then that organ donation is favorable. And then in that situation, it can be done. So for example, if devotees have a hospital, where in that hospital certain organ donations are done, so and then people have that whole process of organ donation in a spiritual atmosphere where their chances of not just becoming materially benefited but also becoming spiritually elevated, they are also there. So in such situations, that organ donation is anukul, is favorable. So rather than a blanket statement about whether organ donation should be done or should not be done, the point is we all have to recognize that any form of material charity has to be thoughtfully done. And if we are empowering people, are we empowering people to do right things, or are we empowering people to do undesirable things? We have to consider that. And overall, if it helps people to come closer to higher spiritual truths, then such charity is favorable. And if it is not going to interfere with our own bodily behavior, of our own conduct, whatever it is, then that is not considered, that is favorable. Now some people may have some individual sentiments, say the body, traditionally the body is, in some cultures it is buried, in some religious traditions it is burnt, cremated. And some people may feel that, the body should not be disfigured, nothing should be changed in the body, there should not be any removal of any parts of the body. That is a feeling that some people have. Then it should not be that understanding that this body was a gift given to me by God, and I use this body, and now this body has come from nature, it will go back to nature. If that is the understanding that certain people have, that should not be considered as wrong. So it's yes, if they feel yes, the nature gave me this body, and now this body goes back to nature in whatever form it is. So it will depend on individual circumstances and individual consciousness. So in spirituality there are principles and there are preferences, and to make matters of preference as matters of principle, that is fanaticism. So matters of preference means that it is a matter of individual choice. So His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was once asked that, suppose we are studying scripture, we are studying say Bhagavatam. So if we are studying Bhagavatam, at that time, should we underline the Bhagavatam? Should we mark on the Bhagavatam? So Bhagavatam is Shastra, it is Krishna. And how can we mark Krishna? How can we make any scratch on Krishna? It should be just kept as it is. And other devotee said, no, but if we underline Bhagavatam, we mark something, we highlight something, it becomes so much easier to find that point later, to read it better, and then we can understand Bhagavatam better, we can serve Bhagavatam better by speaking on it more effectively. So what should we do? So Radhanath Maharaj replied that, yes, when we are treating Bhagavatam as a deity, and we consider Bhagavatam as a deity, and we don't want to underline it, that's fine, that's one attitude. It's perfectly fine. Somebody else may think, yes, Bhagavatam is a deity, and when I'm underlining it, that is like decorating the deity. Which is also fine. So here, what is important is individual consciousness. So the principle is that the Bhagavatam is to be served. The preference may be Bhagavatam is served just by keeping it as it is. Other preference may be Bhagavatam served by underlining. So like that, a devotee always wants to help others. And we, according to our capacities, we should always help others. But the principle of helping is a principle. But the way in which help may be offered, that is a preference. And whether organs are to be donated or not, and how they are to be donated, or in which situations to donate, that is a preference that has to be determined by individual people according to their conscience and according to their circumstances, consulting those who are consulting our well-wishers, our spiritual guides. We can make that decision. Does it answer your question? Thank you.